Welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing fantastic out there, and if you guys could subscribe, that'd be great. Appreciate you stopping by the show. Your Miami Heat will be back in action against the Minnesota Timberwolves today. I saw there was some quibbling. Going on today online about, I saw Bernie Lee was back at it, sticking his beak in Heat business because of some clips from the Levitard show. And, Levitard was talking about this, the idea that a lot of people in the Heat were, I guess, happy that Jimmy Butler is no longer there, that they feel that it was an unstable element or something like that was the term that was kicked around. And then Bernie Lee said that this is one of those things where he puts out an article where it says the Heat are now in a place to make a run at Kevin Durant and keep their diamond in the rough in Whiteside to team up with the core of Wade and Bosh. Would the Heat be left in this position if LeBron left? No, they would not. The Heat had been a team that was stagnated by age and lesser players, only to be brought in to revolve around one man. With LeBron's departure, the door for youth and a more team-oriented basketball swung open, and the future is looking bright in Miami. And the Heat thank you, LeBron James, for making it so. So he's trying to put into the element that he's mocking the idea that LeBron, that the team was too oriented around LeBron, and now that they were going to be more well balanced, I guess. Well, certainly, look, if they were able to get Kevin Durant in there, I mean, that probably would have been pretty damn huge. You would have needed a more bought in D Wade, I would say. The thing that's interesting about the LeBron era that keeps getting brought up, like the whole cookies thing was brought up with D Wade, and the thing that's interesting about it, and I think that Bernie is a bit of a miss on, is the reason Jimmy got all of the stuff in Miami is because they were trying to write the way of LeBron or being too stringent on LeBron and all that type of stuff. And maybe LeBron James didn't love all the things that went on in Miami and that they didn't make him more of a partner in the organization and things like that. I can get that. This guy was becoming the most powerful thing in sports. He had won a championship. But the thing that's interesting with the Jimmy LeBron thing, that I think why the Heat were so blindsided by it is LeBron ended up going back to Cleveland to an organization that was a clown show. Like, they were terrible. They could never surround him with talent. They were terrible every year that he was gone. And he ends up going there to basically do this storyline of winning one for home, and that was the closing chapter, even though he ended up going to LA a few years later. And I think that the Heat were left hurt because it's like, well, how could you go to the organization? The Heat were a championship organization. You come to the Heat, you never won a championship. You win 2. You go to the finals every year. You don't blow it in 14. You don't blow it in 11. You probably have 3. And how do you leave that for Cleveland? Now, LeBron ended up being right. They ended up winning a championship. He ends up getting younger talent because he probably thought, Wade, not knowing if his guy's going to hold up. He teams up with Kyrie, teams up with makes the trade for Kevin Love. And then the Heat do have the unfortunate element of Chris Bosh getting sick and all of it. But I definitely understood the Heat dwelling and doing a lot of reflecting on why LeBron left and all those reasons, and especially it being going back to Cleveland, which isn't as simple as going home, which is what it was painted as, and everybody loved him for it. He went from hated to loved in a minute. And maybe it was as simple as Wade's aging game and becoming beloved instead of, booed, even though he was awesome, especially after he got his first ring in Miami with all that. So I kind of understood the Heat feeling those feelings of what the hell just happened and why did this all crumble, because he went back to Cleveland. And it ended up costing them a lot. It ended up causing a divorce with Dwayne Wade. It obviously put them in a weird spot, and it took them a while to recover until they got to Jimmy. But this Jimmy divorce thing and dwelling on it, I haven't hit on it a ton just because I don't really see the point in it. I keep hearing the same things over and over and over with the Heat. that are still like this, and really nothing's changed from the time where the storylines were why they weren't thrilled about paying him in the first place. And you're now at a point where it's like, hey, it's over. And he's also in an organization where it's like, they're the one organization probably in the sport, maybe two, where you're like, you can't really say that he's not in a better spot right now. He's with a player that's never been as good as anybody you put him with. And he's with an organization that, always seems like they got the one up on you. So I don't understand why they keep going back to this well of like why they didn't want him. He's gone. He's gone. It's time to it's time to bury that puppy, because you keep dwelling on this and they keep cruising and you're sitting here meandering and struggling. I barely even remember what it's like seeing Andrew Wiggins play basketball. But I don't think the scenarios are very similar at all, because up until paying Jimmy money, the Heat did let him do basically whatever he wanted to do. And anything that is characterized otherwise is silly. And they learned that from the way that they were too stringent maybe with LeBron. Now, the one thing that didn't change was Pat, his call-outs. That's Pat. He's never going to change that. That's what he is. And I don't know if I would want him any other way. I really wouldn't. So I don't know. The other guy that he did call out in that whole thing was Tyler Herro, who has had a tremendous season. He has been durable. He's only missed 3 games. 2 of them have been by sickness. And I really wanted to get into Tyler here because I did another video tonight on Bam and talking about how Bam's been on just an absolute tear since the beginning of February. And Tyler, interestingly enough, has not been on a tear since the beginning of February. And really, if you bring it to the time when he was named an All-Star, which was January 30th, and you mark his games, he is just not as efficient as he was. Now, the big thing that pops out is the three-point shooting. It's jarring to see, Tyler Herro is shooting 26% since February 1st, 13 games. And, beforehand, he was shooting 40% and he was amongst the most makes in the league when it came to three-point shooting. And right now, he's just in a little bit of a rut. And it does feel like a lot of these things are I don't know, I think he's a little bit worn down. I know that there was a shoulder thing at one point. I'm trying to figure it out because I don't understand, a guy who has been this good a shooter. And he had mentioned this after one of the games where it was after the Knicks game where he's like, I'm still going to shoot those shots. And I think from his standpoint, it's an interesting test because this is kind of the MO on Tyler. Can he hold up physically in a season? Can he handle the wear of guys trying to take him out? Understood he's a little outmanned right now, even though the thing that's interesting about this is Bam Adebayo is playing his best offensive basketball of the season. But early on in the year, Tyler Herro was averaging over 24 points. This is his first 45 games. He was averaging over 24 points. He was shooting 47%. 3-pointers, he was taking just under 10 a game. He was making about 4 of them a game. So he was shooting 40%. And the free throws, he was getting to the line about 4 times. Always been a tremendous free throw shooter. Now, with teams really clamping down on him and getting after him. And again, I understand that's what part of this is. His scoring's down a tick. He's averaging now 23 points a game over the last 13 since February 1st. He's shooting 41% from the field, but he's shooting a little bit more because there's no Jimmy, there's no. It's him and Bam, and then whoever the hell shows up. He is still shooting about the same amount of threes, but it's just less. He's not making them as much. Then you also have to put into it, he's getting guys involved a lot more. He's essentially been the only playmaker for the team. And, he's averaging, in his first 45 games, he's averaging a little over 5 attempts per game, 5 assists per game, excuse me. Now he's averaging nearly 7. So now he's creating for a lot of guys. It's interesting watching him in that Knicks game, right? Where it was like he was so great at setting up all of his people early on in the game. And then you get to the point where they really need him to go shot for shot with Jalen Brunson. And, he hits that 1-3 late, and then he hits that one mid-range, even though he's struggling the whole time. And you're like, damn, onions, dude. But you do wonder if there's just been a bit of a wear down at this point of the year from Tyler. And again, I remember there was, he's been dealing with some kind of a shoulder thing too. So I don't know if that's an element he's been dealing with, and maybe that's why he's not been quite as sharp of a shooter as he was early on in the year, where it felt like he had some games. I mean, his shooting at the beginning of the season was like, I don't know, like you knew, you're like, I can't keep up. That's crazy. You can go look, and if you look at his splits, like how it's gone through the months, it's like November, he was shooting 41% from 3, then 40 in December, 38 in January, and then February he shot, which is fewer games because there's only 11. There's an all-star break, but he shot 26% from downtown. But his usage rate really spiked over those games. So it's just something to keep an eye on, and I wonder if there is a little bit of a last ditch effort here, because God, did they need him, man, in that game. I mean, Bam was awesome, but like I want to see, can there be a game, or if there could be like a 10-game run where these two guys can really click and find it. Not your turn, my turn, could like they find it to really attack one another. Because I feel like there's been times in their careers where they've had like tremendous chemistry of finding each other and getting each other involved. But it's been interesting because like this is a point of the team where it's like it's their show. There's no Jimmy Butler anymore. And you kind of need to know, what do you believe that these guys can be? And how good can they be as pieces? And what will that mean? And that's why it is fascinating. Like, for everybody who wants to tank. Yes, tanking is, I get why people are sick and they want different stuff. But from the team standpoint of like Tyler and Bam and where they're at, they also need to know, like, what do those guys need? It's been tough because obviously there's been no, you lose Nico. You don't have, you haven't really had a lot of Andrew Wiggins. He's about to, he's missed 4 games in a row. I don't know. But it was definitely one of those things where I was getting ready for one of the games this week. I was like, damn, Tyler's just not hitting the 3 ball the same. And there's got to be reasons for that, for one of the best shooters on the planet. Kind of like Bam was saying, right? Like he was going through his slump at the beginning of the year. Now Tyler isn't going through like a full slump. Like I think his is more explainable. But the 3-point thing where everybody's trying to terrorize him and get him the hell off that 3-point line. And, is there a means where he can get him more comfortable to get those numbers back up? That is going to be the interesting thing. Or if this is just a dip. Like it's just, the part of the season where there's like Bam said, it's a little bit of a slump skis and he can bounce back just fine. So it's just an interesting thing. I'm curious to watch for, because it's kind of been going on since he got that all-star nod. And maybe that's something that's garnered him more attention too. They're like, oh, this dude's an all-star. Good. Let's go shut his ass down. And everybody's focusing on that. So just keeping an eye on it. Keeping an eye on it to see a little boy wonder bounce back in the next goings of these 20 games.